The river is so pretty right now. It's kind of getting dusk, so I hope there's enough light for me to do this video. But, I realized that I owe you some explanations because I made that 50 Things blog and I literally read down the list on purpose because the first time I made it, I tried to explain a lot of them and it took 17 minutes. And I didn't think that it was very viewer friendly, so I figured I'd just go down the list and find out which ones people were curious about, which aren't exactly the ones that I would have picked, but I guess I'm just going to start at the top. About skipping school to play Miss Pac-Man. I had study hall right before lunch, and so what we would do is we would get our study hall pass signed to the library, and we would just leave for lunch and, study hall period. And my friend Zach and I would go to the laundromat, and we would put our 2 quarters in, and we would play one game, usually head-to-head. Kept it more exciting. And of course, you could smoke cigarettes in the laundromat, so we would smoke cigarettes. And we did that for an entire school year. That's why I'm so good, I think. But Mike, we need to find a Miss Pac-Man machine and get you on it, and because you can't challenge me unless you mean it. Okay, Green Day told me to fuck off. Illuminati and Haynes 1994 were curious about this. This is when I was living on the streets, which I'll talk about in a moment next. And I was at a concert. It was a bridge school benefit where it's, I believe it's Neil Young does this thing every year for the school that's out in San Francisco called a bridge school, and it's a big concert, and there's always a lot of people there. And Fish was there that year, and so I went, but I didn't have a ticket, and I didn't really have money for spending on a ticket. So I was just asking random people as they were coming in if they had any extra tickets, and this group of guys was walking up, and it was kind of late. The show had already started. I mean, I had already given up on finding a ticket, but this group of guys was walking in. And so I ran down the hill real quick, and I was like, hey, what's up, guys? Do you guys have an extra ticket? And then I realized, as I was talking, that I was talking to Green Day. And they basically looked at me, and there's a bunch of gnats, excuse me. But they basically looked at me and told me to fuck off. I probably would have, too, if I was Green Day, because, this homeless little hippie girl is coming up to you asking you for freebies. Okay, living on the streets for 5 months of my life. Anime Star was a little curious about this. My home life wasn't, quote-unquote, picture perfect. And so when I was 17, I graduated high school and I ran away, but I still had several months before I turned 18. So, I couldn't get a job, I couldn't get an apartment, so I basically, squatted, wherever. I slept in bushes, beside Salvation Armies. I would clean people's houses to sleep in their garage or their couch. I really didn't sleep in any homeless shelters because I was underage and I didn't want to get taken in. So basically that's why I lived on the streets for 5 months of my life. Haynes 1994 was curious about how I almost got expelled from high school. When I was in high school, I smoked pot, every day, and I think one day I took weed to school with me. It was just in my bag, and I got searched, and I got in trouble, and then, so that got me suspended, but it happened again, and, so they were supposed to expel me, but my parents put me through rehab, so I was allowed to come back. That was basically the stipulation that was at the expulsion hearing that I had to go to. Spent 2 birthdays in jail. Cheese and Bread was curious about that, as were others. I spent my 14th birthday in jail, and it was because of running away from home. And I spent my 18th birthday in jail, and that's because I got picked up 4 days before my 18th birthday when I was living out on the streets. So that kind of explains those. I caused 2 police officers to mace themselves. Ms. Bueller was curious about that. Basically, don't run from the cops. They were going to hit me with their clubs, but I think they changed their mind because, I'm a cute girl or whatever, or I look young or something. I don't know. So they decided to spray mace instead. When you spray something and you're running right into what you're spraying. and I don't know why they didn't think of that, but yeah, they maced themselves. Then they proceeded to empty their cans of mace on me. She was also curious about how is the weed in Jamaica. Yeah, dude, that was the sketchiest thing I've probably ever done, because, like, I was on a cruise, and if you have, like, anything on the cruise, they'll kick you off, and, you know, if you get arrested at one of the ports, they don't wait for you, they just go. So it's kind of crazy. We just bought it off of the taxi driver. Yeah. It was like so orange and it smelled so fruity that I don't even know how to begin to explain it. We got like a chunk about that big, and I think we paid $10 or $15 for it, which to them was a lot of money, and to us it was a good deal. And we only had like 3 or 4 days left on the cruise, and it became a chore to actually smoke it all. So, Altabanger was talking about Ron Jeremy, and he said that Ron Jeremy could do something that I didn't think was possible. I don't really want to mention it. You can go back and look at my credits or my comments, but yes, the hand that shook Ron Jeremy's hand also touched a real Picasso. So Echo 12 and W. Stoner were curious about that. They were kind of a couple years apart. When I shook hands with Ron Jeremy, I was 16, and I was at an adult, rave that you had to be 21 and up to get in, but my friend was part of the rave throwing company, production company, and so I got to get in, and it was a cool party, man. Like, the first 1,000 people in the door got a free sex toy, and, Ron Jeremy was a special guest, and blah, blah, blah. I didn't even know who he was at the time, which is kind of funny. D Pedals and M Casual were curious about stabbing my big sister with a pencil, and I've been thinking about it all day, and I cannot remember why for the life of me. M Casual thought that I was Ducka Prince's sister, which I thought was cool, because she's so pretty. Let's see. These are just the ones you guys asked about. Kicking my dad in the nuts. Okay. Super Loser, Old School Loner, and D Pedals 222. Sorry, puppy is whining. Must pet her. But, they were curious about me kicking my dad in the nuts. Basically, my dad liked to pin us down and tickle us until we cried, peed, passed out. And after a while, being a little kid, you kind of get sick of that. And it becomes irritating when you're pinned down and you can't breathe. So, yes, I've nailed my dad in the nuts. Let's see. Ingested over 100 doses of LSD at one time. I'm sorry every word means in peanut butter crotch, but that story is way too long. And that's all the ones that you guys asked about. I wanted to explain the hit a parked car and drove off, because I think it's a really funny story. I was at my friend's house in my 85 Monte Carlo, and I used to go to her house all the time, and I was backing out, and I just cranked the wheel all the way, and I ended up hitting the car that was right next to us, and I kind of lifted it up off the ground and dropped it back down. And so it kind of ruined their whole, rear corner panel. And, the sad part about it is that I didn't leave a note, I didn't say anything, and I went back to that apartment building and parked in that exact same parking space probably 100 times afterwards. Let's see. I'm surprised nobody asked me about the mistaken for a prostitute in Salt Lake City, Utah. Maybe I should just, keep that story to myself. It's really funny. Okay, another one that I told in the original video that I didn't tell in the one that I posted was climbing the 360-foot radio tower. Dude, that was, probably one of the coolest experiences in my life. It was a 360-foot tower, and that's, really big, and it's a radio tower, so it's all, all metal, and the concrete pillars that this thing was set in its foundation were like 12 feet tall. So my dad actually had to boost me up onto this pillar to even be able to get to the ladder. My dad and I climbed it, and we climbed it free, I guess. We didn't have any harnesses or ropes or anything, so kicking out a boyfriend's windshield. That's a funny story too. We were like chilling in the car, smoking cigarettes, and let's see. And so we're chilling in the car, we're smoking cigarettes and everything, and it's getting really dark. I hope you can see me. But we were putting our footprints on the windshield, and I put my footprint on the windshield, and the whole windshield just like kind of broke. It's kind of scary. He told his insurance company that a rock fell off a truck and hit it, and his insurance company paid for it, so I didn't have to pay for it. So that was really cool. And I think a couple people, I didn't write it down, but a couple people mentioned knocking out a boy's tooth and blooding his nose. It sounds worse than it is. There's this kid named Randy, and I can't even remember his last name, but it's like in first grade, and he was in my grade, but he ended up failing like a year or two, so he didn't end up graduating with me. But anyway, I don't even remember what was going on, but like we were having some sort of argument, and he pushed me, so I pushed him back, and he fell, and this was like outside of the elementary school, and there was like parking curb right there, and when he fell, his face hit the parking curb, and it bloodied his nose, and it knocked out his tooth. So I think that was all that's all the orange that I filled out anyway. So yeah, this video is probably not going to get as much attention as the 50 things, but that's okay. And I think it was Jolsa who pointed out that, you know, these are things that I've done in the past, and I'm not ashamed of them, and I'm not embarrassed of them, and I just want you to know that, like, I'm sharing these with you almost more for the humor than anything, because it's not really who I am anymore. I mean, there's a lot of things on that list that I would never do again, so I don't know, there's some really big bugs here, but just get one more look at the river, and then I'm going to show you my favorite tree. I know it sounds really stupid, but this is like my favorite tree. So big. I wish I could zoom in. Here, I'm going to walk over to it. It's just got the neatest branch structure, and it's probably way too dark for you to see it, but all those branches just come shooting off like crazy. Alright, later.